For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kenneth Campbell. I'm the chairman of the Energy Efficiency Association, and hopefully you can all hear me. My role today is just to keep this session ticking along, but I'm mostly going to hand straight over to Maxine Narborough, who is from the Greater South East Local Energy Hub, Regional Energy Hub, and she's going to talk a lot more about what the LAD scheme is, how you can get involved in the LAD scheme in the South East, Greater London, and parts of the east of England. So thank you very much, and over to you, Maxine.
Thank you, and hello everybody. So as Kenneth has said, I'm Maxine Narborough, the Regional Hub Manager for the Greater South East Energy Hub. I'm going to share a screen, so we've got some slides for you today, so I'll run through what we're going to cover. Bear with me. So hopefully that's all sharing now. Marvellous, okay. So today we're going to cover the an overview of what the Energy Hub is. I'm going to talk to you about the LAD2 scheme, about the eligibility criteria, and an overview of the Greater South East Energy Hub delivery model. Now I'm going to head over to Matthew Ward from Mace. He's the head of procurement. Mace is supporting us with framework manager services and have also been providing support through the procurement process. So Matt's going to cover what the DPS is, basically an approved supplier list, and how to get on the portal, what the roles and responsibilities are for the different parties involved in delivery. So that's the process with the installers and managing agents, and then we should have plenty of time left for a Q&A. So just to give you an overview of the local energy hubs, we were set up in 2018. We are one of 5 local energy hubs in England, and we work very closely with the local enterprise partnerships and local authorities across our patch. We have 5 key objectives to increase quality and the number of local energy projects in our area, provide technical support to local authorities and other public bodies to develop their business cases and access funding, to raise awareness of and the benefits of local energy investment, supporting areas to attract and secure public or private finance. We support and deliver any government schemes that are agreed with BEIS, so that includes the LAD2 scheme. We've also worked on social housing, technical assistance, and various other programs. And we also take the learning from the work that we've done and the collaboration with other hubs to look at how we share best practice and roll out opportunities across LEPs, local authorities, and the energy hubs. So in terms of funding streams, we also administer a 10 million Rural Community Energy Fund. That's across the 5 hubs, and the 300 million Green Home Grant Local Authority Delivery Phase 2 scheme. So these are the objectives for LAD2, and they're very similar to LAD1. So it's all about tackling fuel poverty, increasing the energy efficiency of low-income household properties and reducing their energy bills, to deliver cost-effective carbon savings, so helping government reach net zero targets by 2050, to support clean growth and make sure we're adapting to climate change, utilising the role of the local energy hubs to build local authority capacity, and also, as you know, the need to develop supply chains to deliver energy efficiency at scale. We're very much at the start of the journey. We're looking to sort of deliver 10 to 15,000 properties in the Greater South East this year. We need to be delivering, over 800,000 properties a year across the country to meet net zero. So we're looking at really, how we can start to build that scale. The LAD schemes were announced as part of the COVID recovery. So we also have a theme around the creation of jobs and green recovery. And what we're intending to do is to use the learnings from this delivery experience to inform the development and the design of future energy efficiency and heat schemes. So in terms of the eligible properties and households, all tenures are eligible. So that is low income owner occupier, low income social housing and private rented. The EPC bands are EPC band D, E, F and G. There is a cap on the number of EPC band Ds, and that is 50% across the whole of the programme area. We're aiming for an area-based approach so we can target the most inefficient housing in a cost-effective way. In terms of households, it's all low income. Owner occupiers are eligible for about a £10,000 average retrofit cost, and the private rented sector are eligible for a £5,000 average grant, and they are required to put in a 33% match fund. All properties are required to have low income households. The headlines for this is a maximum combined income of £30,000 or £20,000 after housing costs. There is some flexibility around that criteria, which will be dealt with at a local level. In terms of eligible measures, LAD 2 is the first LAD programme that requires delivery to PAS 2035. All installers need to be certified to PAS 2030-2019 for insulation and MCS accreditation for renewables and heat pumps. All businesses need to be Trustmark accredited, and this is a requirement of the scheme. There is no flexibility in that. So with LAD 1A and 1B, the requirement wasn't for the PAS 2035 standard. So that is coming in now for this scheme. Currently, in terms of measures on the DPS, I won't read through them all, but we have the fabric insulation measures, heating systems, so no fossil fuel, that includes ventilation. We can replace windows if they are single to double glazing, and we can also do solar thermal, solar PV, air source heat pumps. We will be including park homes in the specification. We're just waiting for the publication of the technical guidance so we can build on the industry best practice. The DPS, which we'll talk about later, can be updated each month as it reopens for additional measures to be added and any amends to be made. So this is our area, Greater South East Energy Hub. We cover 11 local enterprise partnerships, 141 local authorities. We've got over 40% of England's housing stock, and we've got 1.4 million households in fuel poverty. Our grant allocation for this year, and that's to the end of December, is 69 million for the capital grant installation. So that's energy efficiency measures, PV, and low carbon heat. In terms of our delivery model, we've taken our 141 local authorities and we've split them into 17 consortia, which you can see on the right-hand side table. We have allocated funding to each local authority based on population and the number of households in fuel poverty. So every single local authority area in our hub area are going to be undertaking a retrofit programme this year. 16 out of 17 of our consortia are utilising the managing agent framework and the installer DPS. We have one local authority who is self-delivering with an existing procurement. 3 of our consortia are self-delivering, but they are using our managing agent framework and the DPS. And for 13 of the consortia areas, the hub will be acting as lead authority on behalf of the consortia local authorities, but still working very closely with those authorities in delivering measures in their area. So we estimate around 10 to 13 properties will have energy efficiency measures, low carbon heat or micro renewable generation by the end of this year across our hub. In terms of managing agents, we've recently completed our framework and we have 4 appointed managing agents: Happy Energy, E.ON, City Energy and Warmworks. The managing agent and the installer contractual relationships are with the lead authority or with the hub where we're acting as lead authority. Installers will be appointed through the dynamic purchasing system. That's the approved supplier list. This will be available to all local authorities and social housing providers for 4 years, so it goes beyond LAD 2. We will also be procuring independent technical on-site audits, which will be contracted by the hub. The managing agent role is really to take the the project from the sort of strategic planning right through the customer journey and referrals, undertaking the assessments and eligibility checks, producing the retrofit plans, undertaking the procurement, scheduling and delivering works, undertaking quality assurance and the project closeouts. They really are the delivery partner for our local authorities. So in terms of how to get work through the LAD 2 schemes, I've put some links here. So we will be sharing the slide deck with you after the event. You can follow those links to get onto the DPS. If you have any issues or you want some support, please do email us and we can arrange a one-to-one call. We'll also be putting some resources on our website shortly, so that will include some videos of how to get onto the DPS and a few other resources. And just to point out, if you're not aware already, there is training available through the Midlands Energy Hub, so that's free or subsidised training. It's support to get the PAS 2035 accreditation, but also to get more installer qualifications. So please do follow that up if you aren't aware of that already. So with that, I am now going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand over to Matthew.
Worked out how to unmute. Right, I'm ready. Can everybody see? Can everybody see that? Yeah, good. Okay, so like Maxine said, this is a hell of a challenge, to be fair. There's a lot of thought and a lot of process gone into working closely with Maxine to put some structure around how to even comprehend rolling out this challenge that's been set by BEIS, in terms of working with the 141 local authorities, the consortia, the spend, the number of homes that we've got to achieve. So what we did is we've worked with the Energy Hub to put together what we diverse as the worked out as the key structure needed to be able to roll this out in the efficient and most cost-effective manner to ensure that as much of the funding that's been brought through it can get through to and be implemented by the installers to actually add the value in terms of the social housing. So ultimately what you see at the top there, and apologies if I'm looking to one side because I've shared the wrong screen, the Energy Hub sits at the top, and then MACE as framework manager are supporting the Energy Hub in pretty much all of the aspects that Maxine highlighted there in terms of organising and making sure that the flow of contracts and funding can flow through the process. So we've established these 16, 17 consortia, of which, like Maxine said, 13 of them we will be managing for and on behalf with the Energy Hub to ensure that the documentation and the flow. Under each of the consortia, we've appointed a managing agent. So we have 4 managing agents that have been appointed, each one of them having between 2 and 4, maybe 5 areas or consortia that they are leading on. Underneath them, they're responsible for the customer journey. And as Maxine suggested, they will be procuring the package installer for the energy efficient works. They will be responsible with liaising with the lead authority and or in the case where the Energy Hub is taking that responsibility to identify the stock, to identify the opportunities, the customers, securing those contracts, doing the process that Maxine highlighted through the stages of the managing agent services, ultimately procuring and appointing the package installer. And I'll go through the DPS slides in terms of registering to the DPS after this. So just as a quick, so we've sort of highlighted here what the key roles and responsibilities are of each of the key parties within the process that we're going through. So it's the authority's responsibility for setting out the operational goals, managing the relationship and the funding issues with BEIS, engaging the framework manager, as in this case MACE, putting out the cost, schedule and quality constraints that need to be achieved by the managing agent as part of the customer journey and as part of the package installer's delivery. Responsible overall for the program execution, selecting the project stakeholders, which we've been working hard on in terms of appointing the managing agents, and liaising closely with the local authorities and the lead authorities, and providing the project finances and the flow through of the project finances. Mace, as a framework manager, our responsibility is to help Maxine give her half a chance to deliver this scheme. So we're there to provide that support. We're providing guidance and support and advisory and procurement and commercial support. Some of that relates to the review of the contract forms, supporting the contracts that are being established between all of the key parties as and when required. We will establish and maintain and manage the program services and program management services that are required. There's a lot of reporting to come through the managing agent to ensure that we are spending taxpayers' money in the most effective and efficient manner and reporting that back up through BAYS. So that's a key responsibility of the framework manager, to make sure that all of these 141 local authorities, lead consortia areas and lead authorities are all aligned in terms of how we tackle this challenge and how we report success. So the managing agent, Maxine's covered with the flow diagram that we produced before in terms of their key responsibilities. They will manage the whole process, and they are the ones that will engage with the customers, the dwellings. They will manage that complete customer journey. They will be responsible for ensuring that all of the energy efficient measures and the services provided are completed in applicability with the past 2035 regulations. And that's making sure that the installers complete their sections of works as per the past 2019 requirements. They are there for contract and performance management, reporting requirements, and they are the ultimate, they are the pivot between the package installer program and the funding coming through the authorities. Package installers, probably one of the most important people, because without the package installers, we won't deliver any energy efficient measures. They are responsible under the past 2030 and in applicability with past 2035 regs to deliver all of the energy efficient measures. One of the key things that we've highlighted, this is a low fuel income social program. So safeguarding of our customers and delivery of those works and ensuring customer satisfaction is a key aspect to be taken on board by the package installers to ensure that that element of it is delivered. And we come out of this with a beaming success over and above maybe what the Green Homes Grant Scheme has produced, and in terms of LAD 1A and now on to LAD 2. And then the lead authority, they are the ones that administer the contracts. They hold all the contracts directly between the package installer and the landlord or owner operator or owner occupier. And they are responsible for reporting the data collected and managed by the managing agent back through to the hub, through the framework manager, so that we have a complete picture of everything that's been delivered. So I've provided here a sort of worked example so that everyone can see, and it's similar to what we did is in terms of managing this customer journey. So it starts with the energy hub appointing the managing agent under a pre-agreed framework. The framework manager identifies the managing agent and outlines the scope of the services for that consortia. The managing agent then mobilises and identifies dwellings, and this is part of that, and that might get a smile out of Maxie, assessment and eligibility. Oh, I did it. It's in terms of identifying those dwellings and assessing those dwellings, and then moving forward and managing that customer journey process. The managing agent, as Maxine highlighted, will be the one that's responsible for bidding the works. And ultimately, we've established the DPS because, as Maxine highlighted, it drives for the growth of, something that's key to Mace and our own priorities is growing the SMEs, growing voluntary contributions, growing the supply chain to be able to respond. Out of the government has come the levelling up agenda and all of these different aspects in terms of supporting growth within the supply chain. And Mace is keen to support that, and so is the Energy Hub, and we're providing where possible and where it makes sense for us to drive that forward. One of the things that I would say, which we've designed as part of this process, is that we are not planning with the amount of properties that we're looking at and with the amount of spend that we have to get through. We are not looking at this as a program of works where we're tackling dwelling by dwelling. Part of the responsibility of the managing agent is to package up and assess areas or against measures or dwellings where a series of energy efficient measures can be packaged together to create a package of works. I don't want to put numbers on it, but if you sort of said between 10 and 20 dwellings and they all had a similar energy efficiency measure, or most of those dwellings have multiple measures per household, the managing agent is responsible for putting the most efficient and effective delivery strategy together, supervised and advised by the framework manager as needed as part of that reach back, putting together that package of works so that when we bid it via the DPS, we're bidding a package of works rather than an individual dwelling on a case-by-case basis, because there's no way in terms of the throughput of what we need to achieve as an energy hub that we can deliver our aspirations and the aspirations of BEIS if we don't manage this process that way. And hence the LAD schemes are more, I don't want to use the word juggernaut, but they're a structured and packaged process of works that we go through. So once the managing agent has identified the works in an area, they've packaged it up into a reasonable and efficient packaging methodology. That package will then be bid and tendered via the DPS to all of the installers that have registered in that area or for those measures. And it can be multi-measures. You don't have to register for just one measure. I've got an example of the specification. I can show you the level of measures Maxine's already hinted at. The package installer will then be placed with the contract between the lead authority, or in some cases the energy hub directly, and package installer. They will then deliver the works to the pass regs, and then the managing agent will verify those works have been undertaken to regulations. They will do all of the commercial checks, quality requirements, trustmark certification. They will then approve and close out the works with the package installer. Package installer will be fully reimbursed for all of their costs incurred as per the contract, and then the managing agent will provide all of the necessary reports, feedbacks, and documentation required by the energy hub, lead authority, and the framework manager. And at that point, then the framework manager will provide the feedback and close out the loop. So that's a sort of worked typical example of what will happen. One of the key questions that we got in terms of the last time we presented this was the financial process. At the moment, the way we're looking to package these works, the contractor or the installer can apply for payment for successfully inspected and completed properties. So if you've gone into a property, you've installed the energy efficient measures, that property is then completed, signed off, trustmark is approved and logged, lodgement. At that point, then we will process the payments so as to make sure that everybody is paid in a timely manner. If your contract contains multiple properties, which is the aim, then you can submit monthly interim invoices for works that have been completed in that period of time, so as to process payments. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions and comments about this section. We'll come back to it. Payments will be processed by a lead authority on applicable to each of the consortias. So that's the organisation of how we've structured it to be able to take on this challenge, and it is a challenge. And we think it's bound for success. We think we've got it right, and we're now rolling this out into the market. The other aspect of what was discussed was registration with the DPS. So for those that aren't aware, the dynamic purchasing system, so this is being managed by the CPCA on behalf of the Energy Hub. So they manage a ProConnect supply registration system. As part of that proactive system, there's no special training or anything. Anybody can log on and register, create your username, create a password, register into the system. This is the system where we will log all of the procurements, or rephrase that, the managing agent will log all of the procurements that are coming out. They will all come through this system. What we require as part of this system is we call it SSQ, but it's pre-qualification. So you as a package installer will register onto this system, provide company details. It's a simple form logging into the system once you've created your email address. But as part of this system, you'll register, you'll provide your experience. We ask a couple of very basic sort of technical evaluation criteria in terms of your experience of delivering certain energy efficient measures, the scale of you delivering those energy efficiency measures, how much of that work is performed in-house, how much of it is subcontracted as required. We'll go through all of these aspects to then register you onto this system. Once you're registered onto this system, any one of the managing agents, depending on whether you have registered for a specific location or to cover the whole of the Southeast, they will, when they register and engage their procurement, they will, via this system, you will get a notification that a procurement has started. And it's as simple as registering your interest and then providing them with the pricing and any other documentation that's required as part of that bid. It's quite a simple program system to complete and register. The ticks and crosses completed show you as and when you've registered. Once you've registered, you'll be asked to add keywords about your organization so that we can pick it up in searches. So it's key here to list some of the different energy efficient measures that we've got. And again, what we can do is we provide the specification so you can see the types of measures that we're looking at, because then once you've got these keywords in here, when the managing agent goes in and types in a certain type of energy efficient measure, it will automatically highlight your company. Maxine?
Are you sharing the procurement slides, the DPS slides, because we're still seeing the other framework?
I am, and
yeah,
that
so
is
I can see you looking.
My Zoom experience. All right, new share. There we go. Now the faces might get some recognition of what's happening. So, so I'll just quickly go through this again. But the DPS, for those that haven't already registered on one, is through a portal. The portal is fairly easy to access. The login is there, and again, we can forward these slides out. Pardon me. So you just click, you can register, you fill in your organization name and your address for your primary contacts. We then ensure that your primary email addresses and contact, it's a form that you fill in once you're fully registered and you've logged in all of your details, this is where then we get to this stage where you can start adding keywords, and this therefore opportunity areas of interest. It shows and it can highlight key searches so that organizations that are using this DPS can easily find your company and the services that you're doing. Once you've done your full registration, you're on board. The next process then, once you've registered to the DPS, is the managing agent, as we described before, will issue out via the DPS tenders. Once you've registered on the DPS, you will register and provide, like I described, a pre-qualification questionnaire. Some of that is financial and legal. So the CPCA will have certain things about modern slavery and other aspects, which is mandatory. So there's a mandatory fields that you will complete. Beyond completing those mandatory fields, what you'll then do is answer a couple of specific questions for the Energy Hub in terms of those energy efficient measures. And what I will do is share. And Maxine highlighted before in terms of the energy efficient measures, all of the different, we have a specification specific to our program of works, and it goes through all of the different measures that are applicable. And for some of the SSQ, we will issue questionnaire, which allows you to come back and confirm which of these measures you provide, to what extent you've provided them, recent experience in terms of safeguarding, and how you would manage safeguarding aspects, other aspects like that. What we then do is we assess that and we pre-qualify you onto the DPS. Once you're pre-qualified onto the DPS, that's it. You are registered, and any of the managing agents, when they run their procurement through the portal system that I showed you, that procurement will pick you up as part of the pre-qualified supply chain. And we're looking to continuously grow that supply chain, hence these sessions. Maxine, is there anything else you wanted me to show, or is it Q&A now?
I think Q&A will probably be useful to kick off on. Like we said, we can run through this on a one-to-one basis if anyone has any issues with using the IT or answering the questions.
Thank you very much, Maxine. Thank you very much, Matthew. Does anyone have any questions? Because there's one here in the chat from EPC Limited, saying they've contacted Eon Happy Energy and Wormworks, all of whom said they were not accepting applications from new installers or retrofit assessors as they were full to capacity. How do we get onto these if they're already full?
So the answer is it's to come onto the DPS, because that is the system we will be using to procure the works for the scheme. So you've got an opportunity to get the works if you can get onto that DPS. It does require the PAS 2030, 2019 or MCS accreditations. So you do need to meet the criteria which we need to be delivering to as part of our requirements from BASE. So please get on the DPS, and if you have trouble, tell us.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if anyone from EPC wants to come back on that.
Yes, thanks for that, Maxine. I registered with Proactis over a week ago and I've had nothing. So.
Okay, I can answer that one. So the way the DPS works, as part of the pre-qualify, it opens for a certain period of time. Let's say it opens for 4 to 6 weeks, and then we close it for a couple of weeks, so as to go through the assessment of everybody that's registered. We pre-qualify everybody and then we reopen it. The next phase of it being reopened is we're targeting the 4th of May for the DPS to be reopened so that more people can register. It's just a process issue of you reviewing the registrations that have landed, closing them out, and then reopening the system.
Yeah. And back to my original question, I emailed every single energy company and all the bigger installers than us, and none of them are taking anybody on for retrofit coordinator, retrofit assessor, installer. They said they're full to capacity, that they have no space whatsoever. So if this is something new, then that's good. But
yeah, this is
okay. Thanks.
It's also open to other schemes, other local authorities, social housing providers, so others can directly use this too.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a question from Scott Davis. What level of detail will be provided for a package to tender on? So are there any examples of what a tender package would look like?
We haven't issued any yet, have we, Maxine?
We haven't.
I can't give you an example, but the way the system, the way it is designed is, like I explained, the managing agent is going to go and review, and it's going to work with the lead authority and the local authorities to identify their housing stock requirements and those people and the houses that fall under the criteria for requiring these measures to be provided. There's then that part of the process where they contact the customers or the landlords or the social housing owners or property owners, go through that process of identifying the properties, surveying the properties for the EPC survey. If it's an EPC survey, it's already been done for the retrofit energy efficient measures survey. Taking that data and then collating, like I said, that package of works that makes it more efficient, rather than a house or a property at a time. We will never tackle the size of the scheme that we're trying to tackle in the time that we're trying to tackle it, if we don't badge these things up. So that's then the responsibility of the managing agent. What I would fully expect is the managing agent to put together a schedule of the different measures and the different houses, as well as the audit reports that they've done, because again, they will be using past 2035 accredited assessors to go and assess the properties. That then process, once you've gone through that assessment process, that's when that package of works will be bid via the DPS system. And then the successful package installer that wins that procurement, that package installer will then fully expect a specific intrusive site survey to ensure that the specification and the pricing that they've provided matches the services that's actually going to be required. For example, when you guys turn up on site, potentially you'll see minor little issues or potential need for scaffolding or protective requirements to do the works that may not have been listed. We'll identify that, close all that out, and then the contract will be executed for you to then go and perform the services. So what it exactly looks like, I couldn't show you on a piece of paper, but ultimately it should be a survey report provided as part of that package for tender.
Scott Davis, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, sounds interesting. Obviously, just the areas of concern I'd probably have with it is, we'll say maybe where we're working under LAD 1A and 1B, effectively we're being, in the situations where we're doing that, we're being passed a referral. We're then looking at it costing the job. So the job, the specifications effectively being provided by us, and then that's being checked. So I just kind of say you've got 10 jobs, they could all be different, even if they're the same measure. The price of each one might be different. There's probably just that here now, there's an incentive to bid at a lower price possibly and game the system. You're then going back in and then looking at the real cost of it. I mean, I'm not sure how the purchasing system is going to work, whether it's going to be on lowest cost based on that specification, or I'm just, yeah, it's just in my experience, I wouldn't imagine, maybe with retrofit coordinators and maybe with the additional training, you're going to get a better specification as to the works that are actually going to be done. But, in reality, without actually looking at the properties and looking at the job, it's going to be very hard to cost that, except for in a very generic way. But yeah, we'd have to see how it pans out, I guess.
Yeah, and that is part of the challenge. And I think what we've tried to do is establish a process that acknowledges that in terms of, and again, one of the things that we've got to be really careful about, and we've discussed in detail with Maxine, is the number of times that people go and visit a household. These are social poverty households. They're not the kind of people that want 6 contractors turning up, one all after the other, just to review the property, to assess it, to then go away and get a price together. And then, so we're trying to create the most efficient, effective manner, and how that engages with the supply chain in terms of accurate costing. I think we've got a fairly robust process in terms of all of the 4 managing agents that we've appointed either have or are experienced in delivering retrofit works, and they have that experience where actually some of them are retrofit installers in their own right, so they get it. For all measures, I couldn't honestly answer you, but the process that we are establishing is robust, and I take that on board, Scott, in terms of making sure that we iron out any anomalies in terms of that process. But ancillary works and things like that, where it's not identified by the PASS accredited assessor when he assesses the property, there's a provision for how that gets managed when the installer goes and does his final survey before delivering the works. And it's at that point we'd marry up any cost differential. What we're trying to get to a point is, and I take your point on every house is different, but ultimately if we've got a housing stock of a social landlord and all of the apartments are generic apartments and they all need the same service, then you do find the ability to have a standard, what I might call rate card. And it's something that we will develop to become more efficient and more accurate at delivery. But past 2035 accredited assessors is a must.
Great. Yeah, it'd be good to see maybe some templates that the managing agents are using, or some kind of just some indications of what they're looking to do, or maybe the specifications you're pushing down to them. Just to give everybody an idea of what would be in a package of some kind, certainly in the initials when you're bidding on the first packages, etc.
Yeah, and 100%. The specification that we've listed there is issued out as part of the DPS pre-qualification. So once you've registered on the DPS, you'll get a copy of the specification as we've interpreted it. And we've interpreted this specification not on our own as Mace or as an Energy Hub. We've engaged with the specialists, haven't we, Maxine, in terms of the retrofit coordinators. We've engaged with electrical and mechanical design houses to make sure that what we're putting together, and this isn't a WS Atkins, or this is somebody that's done retrofit and housing projects, so they understand housing projects. So we've targeted the right people to build what we think is quite a robust package of works. But yes, we need to get that out, and as part of registration to the DPS, you'll get all of that information that we've generated to date.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next question we have is from Peter Tom. Peter is expressing some concerns about what he sees as being additional red tape, and is wondering what sort of metrics and measures what sort of metrics and updates will be published on a monthly basis to show the success of the scheme and where things are.
So in terms, just to touch on the reason why we've gone through the DPS route is because it is very suitable for small businesses. It's not a framework. It's not doing a big tender process. It is, and we're happy to also take you through on a one-to-one through the process of registration. So our aim is this is for SMEs. Our local authorities, our local enterprise partnerships want to grow local businesses to be delivering measures in their local areas. So we really want to support you, number one, to get onto the DPS. So, please get in touch. We don't want this to be red tape, but we are the public sector. We do have to be accountable with funding and conform with all the regulations that we are bound by. In terms of how the data will be published, it will be published very much the same as the Green Home Grant voucher. We have very, very robust reporting and a lot of reporting to do back to base. So we have monthly requirements, so that will be down to individual property measures. We have, requirements on measures delivered, number of properties, time taken. But they will be pulling out the key figures, I would imagine, very much like the voucher scheme, to report on the outcomes for all of the lab schemes.
Thank you very much, Maxine. Do you wish to come back, Peter, and add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Maxine, and again, Kenneth and Gary, thanks for setting this up today. I do have concerns. I'm the heating industry, and we've been sort of flying the flag for the small installer for many, many years with various governments since John Major. So we've been involved with this for a long time. We've had successful schemes, we've had unsuccessful schemes. I don't think we've had any success with any scheme for the last 10, 12 years, maybe. There's been a lot of failure, and the discussions we've had over the years with Peter Bonfield when he reviewed the failed Green Deal was that you need to reduce the red tape, and that was agreed by many, but then the red tape boys got involved and they just bunged a load more on. PAS 20, PAS 2030, 35 is made up of the British standards that we've worked in the heating industry for many, many years. So there's nothing new in those PASs, and we actually wrote the standards. So now we're being told you buy them back for £180 and you have to comply with them and have a management system built into it, which we've had in place for many, many years. So small installers object to getting involved with that. We don't seem to understand why. And I've been asking government and civil servants for a long, long time, which bit of consumer protection legislation isn't working, and nobody knows. And all ministers come out with is that we need these schemes to protect the consumer. But when you say to a consumer, are you happy to pay more money for this to be protected? They look at you as if you're coming from another planet. So, it doesn't seem to stack up, any of this. Why we need Trustmark, why we need PAS 2030, 2035. To me, it makes it easy for the form and box tickers to go in. I think, Kenneth, you put out on the last scheme that there were up to 12 inspections before an installer got paid, and installers weren't getting paid. You know, we look at this and we think we wouldn't touch a government scheme with a barge pole. And that's why you really need to look at the numbers. You need to look at engagement. I know you're saying you made it easy through this system, but I guess there's still a minimum turnover required by installers. I don't know if you know what that is. And I believe that a lot of smaller micro businesses will be excluded. Please prove me wrong, because 2050 is not that far away. 2035 is even nearer. And with the schemes that the government are coming out with, or well, not the schemes, the challenges that they've got to achieve the legally binding carbon targets, they haven't got a cat and mouse chance of meeting them with the schemes that they've got in place now. I won't rant anymore.
Yeah, no, it's really welcome, and you know, it's still about a two-way learning process. What we're aiming to do is the best we can to get the SMEs engaged. We can't change the quality standards or the PAS standards. That's outside of our reach. But we have tried to make the DPS a process that is as simple and straightforward as possible. Matthew will be able to confirm, but I believe we didn't put the restriction on the minimum turnover to restrict small businesses. So we have been as flexible as we can around that. We are asking for examples of installs. So, we do want to know that if you're installing to apply a measure, you've got the right qualifications. It's all about, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our households are getting a quality job. So we do need to have that, due diligence in place. But, we are looking at this on a case study basis. It does enable people to, to grow their business and grow the measures that they're delivering throughout the programs and future programs. We want this mechanism, this sort of procurement, to be used by local authorities for not just this scheme, for other schemes. And it's been really welcomed by local authorities, because they don't have necessarily the technical competence to put together the specifications or know how to develop or deliver it. What we've been able to do by doing it for 141 local authorities is get that efficiency of scale, to get the right people around the table to support us to write and develop and scope it. The DPS can be changed every month. So if we find out actually we've made a mistake, or we've done this wrong, or it's not working for the market, then we can change it. And that's why, there's that flexibility and approach. So, this is the start for us of a two-way learning process. We're open, to criticism, or compliments. We want to make this work. So ears are open, doors open, do get in touch if you think that actually it's really not very good at all, or if you think it is okay, it just needs a few tweaks.
Yeah, and to second that, Maxine, that's one of the reasons. So Peter, one of the things that we've strove to do is not send out the DPS so that it attracts big builders who just subcontract 90% of the works out. What we're trying to do is attract those people that can come and join the DPS to be able to deliver, because there will be instances where it's one property, but ultimately the program cannot work if we're consistently just procuring one property at a time or servicing one dwelling at a time. When we package up the works, you're right, maybe this is restricting some of the SME and smaller business, micro SME growth. But ultimately, the DPS is set up so that we keep the big contractors. For example, I don't want to drop names in here, Maxine, but those big ones that just sub everything out. We're trying to restrict, we're trying to restrict them getting onto this system. Now, we're not saying that we're totally restricting them, because there's a time and a place for the bigger guys to deliver some of the bigger outputs that we need. But ultimately, we want to encourage that localization. We want to encourage local contractors and local installers to be able to deliver small packages of works. And some of the example questions that we have on there is, just provide us with a case study where you've actually delivered these types of measures before. So for the types of yourself, you'll be able to go, no problem, we've done that, and we've done that across 10 properties. Maybe not all in one procurement or one delivery, but you've definitely got that experience. And for us, that gets you into this process and allows you to be registered. So we're trying to, and Maxine's right, we have the ability, let's say, between every 6 and 8 weeks, when we close it, do the assessment, and then reopen the DPS, we have that ability to finesse it and adjust it to better suit our requirements as we see them coming out of the managing agent.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter. Moving on, we have a question from it says Joe Roof. Is spray foam insulation included in the scheme under the pitched roof measures?
As it stands at the moment, the advice that we have is not to include it because it didn't meet the required standard that I think sort of is a mixture of sort of building regs and the PAS. I have gone for technical guidance on this, so it was really around vapor permeability and the required I believe it's an air gap, that's a ventilation gap that's required. What we are doing is talking to BEIS and others because there are this, measures that are coming up that we're being advised actually, it isn't meeting the requirements of the scheme. So what we're trying to do is see if there is a process we can take it through for a technical approval. We're the first ones to move into PAS 2035, 2030, 2019. So a lot of these are new issues. It's going to be an issue for eco. So I think, what we need to do is try and develop a process and an agreement with, BEIS and other technical experts to be able to sign off on suitability of specific measures that don't naturally sort of sit with the specifications that we have had drawn up. So currently, as it stands, no. But one of the things we're looking at is a process to move forward.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything, Joe?
Ken, Joe has said something in the chat as to why was it accepted on Green Homes Grant scheme.
Okay.
I think
not.
The key difference is we're now working past 2035, 2030, 2019 standards. The other schemes were able to work to 2030, 2017. So I think we've got a different type of requirement.
Thank you.
Steve Gunnell's got his hand up.
Yeah. Okay. Then.
Yes, just to follow on from that, thank you, Gary, for the opportunity to speak here. You mentioned there, Maxine, the air gap, and actually that is a BBA installation requirement. So we've been doing that for the Green Homes Grant regardless, but it is actually a requirement from the manufacturer, and unfortunately some companies clearly haven't been doing that. But I think you'll find through Trustmark, through the type of organisation, as with all of these skilled trades, getting the right people with the right experience makes a difference.
Yeah. I think we just need sort of a way that we can sign off, bringing measures in that have automatically been rejected, and making sure that the specification for that is meeting the requirements and the, like I say, the right installers doing the job.
Thank you. You mentioned eco. There might be an issue with eco, so I'm going to jump to a question on eco. How can eco funding be blended with the lab scheme? That's from Dino.
Yep. So eco can be blended with the lab scheme. So that will be something that the managing agents can do as part of the the development of those packages of measures. So once we've got the retrofit coordinator and the plan, we'll be able to identify what measures can be funded through the Green Home Grant LAD scheme. So what can be funded through LAD 2 and what could be funded with eco. The requirement is that it cannot be the same measure funded by both, so they can't be matched fund, but it can be within the same property, different measures funded by both those funding streams. So that is possible.
Okay. Do you wish to come back, Dean?
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
Then I've got a question from Andre Tarza. What is the typical profile of companies you would want to register on practice, and will you encourage or discourage SMEs to register? How optimistic can SMEs feel following this presentation?
Yes, it's a vote of the SMEs on the call.
I'm going to say, I'm going to ask Peter.
Yeah, I hope you feel more confident. we haven't got a defined, this is the profile that ticks the box. You know, what we're looking for are people who can store measures across our geography. You know, we're looking at doing a lot of properties in a very short amount of time. We are going to have concurrent programs running with LAD 1A, LAD 1B. The supply chain, you know, we really need you to step up to the mark to support the delivery of this. The more we can use local installers in local places, the more we can build a local momentum and get that buy-in. You know, I think, you know, residents like working with local trade. So, you know, we would really like to see, you know, more local businesses working on local schemes. So yeah, I hope it hasn't put you off.
Andre, do you want to come back on that?
Yes, just to say thank you, Maxine and Matthew. Is two Matthews, right? We have two Matthews. I just want to acknowledge that, you know, the supply chain, the companies, most of the people here, where we come off the back of being burned big time with the Green Home Grant. So you probably understand why everyone, or at least some of us, are skeptical. Potentially, I know I am. I'm skeptical. It's a big challenge. Let's not talk about the supply chain raising up to the challenge, because we have raised up to the challenge on the Green Home Grants and got burned big time. I come in this open-minded, but I'm skeptical, and yeah, hopefully the future will show that I had no reasons to be skeptical. So open-minded, optimist.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, the voucher scheme has been a painful process for, I should imagine, everyone that's been involved in it. You know, I'd like to give the assurance that with the LAD 2, installers are being paid directly by local authorities. The funding is in the bank. You know, that the profiles are monthly, so that, you know, the payment will be prompt. We wouldn't have the issues, I think, where you have on the voucher scheme of non-payment, non-approvals, starting work and then getting an issue in terms of what the costs were. All of this is going to be sorted before the work starts. So we've designed out what we would see any issues with the voucher scheme. We haven't based anything that we're doing on the voucher scheme. You know, this is very much about delivery through local authorities, you know, with the funding here.
I mean, I'll reinforce that what Maxie's just said. One of the key things is ethical procurement. It's a key thing from both the Energy Hub and from CPCA, who are leading this procurement, and from MACE. We wouldn't be involved if we weren't sure that this was a process that we can make a difference and we can succeed in terms of our SME growth. Yes, we're going to need SMEs, and yes, we're going to need some of the bigger boys to deliver this scheme. It's not one size fits all. It's a mix between both sets of the supply chain. But I think the structure that we've got set up here, and Maxine's 100% right, the payment process, we've taken a lot of time and effort to work closely with CPCA and Energy Hub, as MACE has a lot of commitments with our supply chain from a construction side, to make sure that this is going to be something where we can be reactive and proactive in making sure the payments are done on that cycle of that monthly basis, so that nobody's left short.
Thank you very much, Matthew. And thank you, Andre. We will move on to the next question from Mark Dallin. Does the LAD 2 funding run until December 2021?
That's right. It runs to the end of December 2021. That is our current timeline. We haven't had it changed since the extension of the LAD 1A. So currently LAD 1A to June, LAD 1B to September, and LAD 2 to December, end of December.
Okay. I don't know if you want to say anything, Mark?
Sorry, I put my thumbs up. That's what I thought. So thank you for confirming. I heard a rumour it might be extended to March next year, which would then coincide with the ending of the current Eco 3 obligation. But that's probably just a rumour, I guess, is it?
Currently just a rumour. We'll have a midterm review in July with BEIS. So, you know, within our contract with them, it's on the behest of the Secretary of State should we have an extension granted. So it's not something that's happening now.
No, I think because phase 1A was extended by 3 months, people are almost automatically thinking, oh, it'll be extended by 3 months, but that can't be confirmed just yet.
We can't work on that basis.
No. Understand, which doesn't give us that much time really. It gives 8 months, well, 7 months really.
Yeah, big challenge.
Yeah, thank you.
Stop laughing, Gary.
Thank you. So we then have a question again going back to spray foam question. L. Pickett is asking, is spray foam insulation deemed the associated measure to pitch roof insulation?
I believe not at the moment. So it's looking at mineral fibre, I believe, in the current specification.
I could put the spec on the screen for a split second if you're Maxine.
Yeah, I was trying to remember off the top of my head. But
No, I've got it. I can share screen for 1 second. Make sure I share the right document. Yeah. So just as an example, as part of this, is it the correct document, Maxine? I can't see which one I'm showing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the spec has been drafted. So every aspect that's included in here. So we've gone through, and again, we've worked with the Retrofit Academy and with the relevant engineers to make sure that we've identified this out as per the PAS regulations. And as Peter said, a lot of these do follow the British standards that have already been done, but that's quite clearly not spray foam.
Okay. Do you wish to come back on that? No.
He's put in the chat. No, all good.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Okay, so we'll move on. We have a question from Scott Davis. When do you expect the first tenders to be out?
We have just appointed our framework managers, so we've got a bit of contracting to do with the lead authorities. Then it'll be a matter of identifying the pipeline. So I should imagine by around about June time, they'll be looking to procure through the DPS. There is an exception process for works to start now through proof supply lists, particularly for social housing, local authority housing own stock, so we can get off to a quick start. But you know, I'd like to think that would be getting works going through that in June.
Thank you very much. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on that, Scott.
No, I mean, obviously we've got our own sales force that's out on eco, and it's a hard graft identifying the properties. And yeah, I think I'm assuming the managing agents will be relatively quickly starting that process, because that takes a while in itself.
Absolutely. So we'll start some work with local authorities in terms of property and area based identification, putting together housing stock. So a start has been made. Obviously some areas are more advanced than others. Some have pipelines left from LAD 1A that couldn't be fulfilled because of the issue with no Ds being allowed in 1A. So there are some pipelines that are are there already, and it is, again, like I say, it's looking at a mix of measures. So I think we've got to be quite strategic in how this is delivered, because it's an awful lot in a short amount of time.
Yep, no worries. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Well, talking of the numbers and the quantities, Mark Thomas is asking, do you think you will achieve 15,000 properties by next March, never mind December?
It's a really tall order, but when we have broken it down to local authority area, there's an average of around 56 per local authority, which isn't as onerous as when you're looking across the whole of the Greater South East. I think we need to bear in mind that our area covers around 46% of the housing stock. So, we have got a big pool from which to pull on. From the analysis that we did early on, this is going to be addressing less than 1% of those households in the highest fuel poverty areas. I don't underestimate the issue in terms of engaging households to have measures undertaken, but we are looking at a blend of both sort of social housing stock and owner-occupier stock, and a blend of measures to try and achieve that. We have to work to try and deliver that target. That's the requirement that's been put on us. So, do I think we'll achieve it? We've pretty much got to achieve it if we're going to demonstrate to government that these programs need to be invested in scale.
Thank you. Mark, do you wish to say something?
The only thing on that is the government actually initially said that there would be 660,000 properties done under the Green Homes Grant by March, where there was nowhere near that figure. They've not even been able to get up to 160,000 vouchers being given out, never mind actually installed. In my experience with this type of works, just for a couple of hundred properties can take 3 to 4 months of getting out, surveying, finding what measures need to be done, etc. So I kind of just hope you guys started this last year to actually come anywhere near where you're going to need to actually achieve half of what you're open to achieve. And in terms of, there's 141 different authorities, the actual labour that's going to be needed is going to be quite extreme, really, and even over that geographical area. And whilst there's a lot of people out there that have upskilled and have got some staff that will be able to take this kind of quantity of work on, I still think the figures you're kind of branding are completely unrealistic.
We have reflected, some of our concerns in terms of capacity for, the delivery of the number of properties. So we've identified across the 5 hub region, there is a shortfall of around 460 retrofit coordinators to deliver our profiles. So the reality is, we are very much aware that the, all of the roles that are required to deliver the measures aren't in place yet. All we can do is report back monthly to BAYS and open that communication channel in terms of once we've actually started delivery on the ground. So, as it stands, we have to aim for it. But I think, we also have to be pragmatic in terms of what is deliverable, because ultimately quality, comes first.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Question from John, who's asking, with the UK generation mix moving more closely to being from renewable sources, will electric heating technologies be deemed to be non-fossil fuels?
So currently, if we can put in a heat pump as a low carbon measure, so it's not being deemed non-fossil fuel, it's being deemed low carbon. So we have electric heating within this programme that is eligible. I believe we can also include the most energy efficient storage heaters if we're combining with PV, but that is to be determined.
Thank you. John, do you wish to add anything to your question? Okay, he said no. We've got another question from Dean Owen, who's asked, can the spec that you showed, Matthew, can that be circulated in all specs for all measures?
So if you register on the DPS, you will get that. So we just encourage you to register via the DPS. So then that's the sort of, you're getting the latest document, and we have document control then.
Okay. Do you wish to come back on that, Dean?
Yes, please. We are a system designer, so we supply the materials to the contractors and provide the guarantees, etc. So I don't think we are eligible to be on the on that framework, because so it would be helpful if I can get that, just to make sure I'm specifying and putting the right materials in place.
Yeah, if you want to drop me an email, then I can get back to you.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, where can I find your email? On the invitation?
That is on, or Gary or Kenneth can give me my personal email, or we have got a LAD2 email. But Gary or Kenneth can get that over to you.
We'll circulate your email in a follow-up when we circulate the slides.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. that seems to be it on the question front. I don't think I've missed anyone's questions. Is there anyone that's got any more questions for Maxine or Matthew?
So Dean Owen from SWIP again. Now, I
Yep.
did put a question on the message, and it was regarding the requirement, of course, for installers to be PAS accredited for those who are eligible to install the measures. But of course, we do want to focus on SMEs and smaller businesses in the region who do have the skill sets to install, but perhaps they don't have the investment to put into PAS. So it was just any thoughts on how then you get those smaller SMEs and small contractors involved who can deliver the measures, but they're not PAS accredited. Of course, they may have to work with a PAS accredited main contractor in the region. So just get your thoughts and comments, regarding that.
Yes, so as it would stand at the moment, they'd need to come in as subcontractor to a PAS accredited contractor. But what we would be looking at is the transition, so that they would actually be actively taking, the training and the process to actually become accredited. So there is a clear pathway. Obviously, the Midlands Hub have got some funding to support businesses for that accreditation. The local enterprise partnerships that we're working with, local authorities and skills bodies are really keen to see how they can support businesses in their local areas as well. So it's a conversation that we're having with a lot of people. What we're being asked by the sort of skills funding is, to show us where the demand is and show us where the courses are, and then the funding could follow.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Is it possible to get information on who's offering these courses? I think PAS will be the biggest cost burden for an SME, and we're happy as a system designer to help them through that journey where we can. But if there is funding available for those small contractors to get up to the standard and operate independently on their own, I'd love to be able to communicate that, amongst our network and people who come and ask us for installer training.
Yes, so there is a link in our presentation to the funding through the
great
Energy Hub, but I think we can also, when you get in touch with me, I can send you that link separately as well.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
We have some information on the EA website as well about access to the funding from the Green Home Grant Training Scheme. Next, and City Energy is also offered to help Dean with if you give Chris at City Energy a call. Christoph Lutz from the Small Solar Company is asking, is there a way to see what measure local authorities are planning for under this scheme?
So there are profiles for each local authority area in terms of what they would like to target, but when the managing agents start to work, they will be developing and firming up those sort of business cases. What we are expecting is that there's going to be changes in what is expected and what is depending on what supply chain capacity there is. So we have to work within the parameters of the program, but there will be flexibility as the program moves on to ensure that the measures that are being specified can be delivered by the market.
Thank you. Christoph, do you want to come back on that?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm asking because without going on about the Green Homes Grant Scheme, but planning for small companies and ramping up deliverable people who can deliver is not easy. And without knowing what local authorities are planning for, it's impossible for small companies to plan for future demand.
Well, I can tell you what local authorities would like to be delivering. So a lot of them would like to be delivering a lot of solid wall insulation. They'd like to be making sure that all lofts where possible are topped up. There's sort of profiles in there for cavity wall, quite a lot in terms of PV on social housing. I think that I wouldn't want to confirm to numbers in different areas, because inevitably we need to be flexible in terms of what can actually be delivered within those localities. And having not done surveys, having not got a defined supply chain in each area, it's really hard to specify. But I would say within a couple of months of being into the program, we should have a really clear idea of what that pipeline is looking like.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. EPEC are coming back with a question about the DPS. Do you want to ask this question? EPC. So basically,
this is the way we've come to a question regarding how their financial and capacity.
Yes.
There is no form. I don't know if you can answer that, Matthew, or so when we take it back to Heidi. So I'm quite sure we've had this question before. Heidi's our procurement person, so she's not able to make it before.
Yeah, I mean, we can touch base with Heidi in terms of is that a part 1, part 2, or part 3 question?
Not a clue. It's so unhelpful filling the forms out anyway. It's been written by someone who clearly doesn't fill forms out. But you know, there's also things like employer's liability, fair enough, we always have that. Public liability, but professional indemnity insurance. We're not a designer. We don't need to indemnify ourselves against anything. You know, product liability insurance. You know, all of these things. If I go to see someone about professional indemnity insurance, which I have to have for my work as a building surveyor, you know, they want to know what they're indemnifying people against. You know, are we designing these systems, or is the retrofit coordinator or the retrofit designer? Why would a small company need to have professional indemnity insurance? It's another question. But anyway, I'll leave that with you.
Thank you.
If I can just build on that and say, the reason why we are asked for that is because people in base and in government and whoever designs these schemes or dreams them up overnight, they want to secure their box to make sure that small installers like ourselves and yourselves are following all the rules that exist in the Bible and in the Quran and in God knows where. But at the same time that we put our prices down, because we are all people who are here, we are all thieves and being accused by base to overinflate our prices. And they expect us to then jump to the challenge. And really somewhere there's a disconnection between what we are required to do, change the rules of the game, LAD 1, LAD 2, ECO 1, ECO 2, ECO 3. And that's why. So don't ask, because there's no other answer.
I agree, Andre, but you know, if I went to an insurance broker, a professional indemnity insurance broker, they would say, what are we indemnifying? Well, what? I'm not designing anything. I'm not giving professional advice. I'm installing loft insulation. I'm carrying out my role as an installer, not a designer. I wouldn't be designing. So on your saying about the insurance, that's irrelevant, because
we had exactly the same thing with our insurance broker. They said, what am I identifying? There we go. We pay £10,000 per year for nothing. And base telling us that we inflate our prices.
Andre, can I let Maxine answer the question, please? Thank you.
Obviously, in terms of the specific questions on the DPS, I'm not the procurement team, so I would need to get our procurement team to come back in terms of what's required. Heidi has done a session, and we have got a video to upload on the website in terms of page by page. And I think because these are standard sort of templates, there may be some things that aren't required, or they're required in a certain level of detail, but I'm not the right person to be able to answer those questions, and I wouldn't even want to have a stab at that. So I will pass that back to procurement team. But say if you have any other specific questions as you're running through, please do get them on an email to us, and I can make sure the appropriate person with the right level of knowledge comes back to you with the right answer.
Thank you, Maxine.
Got a question from Chris Venner. He's got his hand up, wanting to say
Kenneth.
something.
Yeah, thanks, Kenneth. Maxine, it might be worth a shout sharing the built environment videos that they did, circulating that around possibly, because there was some sessions in there that might help some of the installers with regards to PAS and the procurement side of things, or possibly host something very similar, because those are really helpful.
Yeah, the videos are going to go up on our website. They're too big to be able to email around. I did try and email it to Gary yesterday, and it was just, there wasn't even a transfer system I could do it on. So we will put those on the website, which is that step by step through the scheme providers, the DPS questions, and so on. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. I'll also take this opportunity to point out that the EEA is running a session on preparation for PAS 2035, ensuring everyone's up to speed on that on I believe it's the 3rd of June. Gary, I don't have the date in front of me. I think it's the 3rd of June. But anyone that's interested in attending that, they can contact Gary.
I'll go for all of that on my sum up.
Okay, thank you. And I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions. I think we've reached the end of the questions. So I shall just say thank you very much, Maxine. Thank you, Matthew. Gary, do you want to sum up?
Yes, please. Obviously, this is the first of the LAD Zoom calls that we've done. And we wasn't quite sure, obviously, how it was going to go, but I think it's actually gone very well. Those who don't know, we're doing 5 of these. Maxie mentioned earlier there are 5 energy hubs. For the next 4 weeks, we will be doing the following regions. So the Midlands will be next Thursday at 11 a.m. That's the 6th. On the 13th, we're doing the Northwest at 11 a.m. On the 20th, I apologise. When I went on LinkedIn, I got my days mucked up. I said the 22nd. It's actually the 20th. That will be the Southwest. And we finish up on the 27th for Yorkshire and the Northeast. I would say to you, if you are working or looking to work in any of those areas, all of the different energy hubs are running things slightly differently. Otherwise, I could have just done one. However, because things and the engagements and everything are different, I would strongly suggest come on to the other calls because you need to know the differences. Just pop me an email. You've all got my email. If you want to come on any of the other calls, as you know, for members it's free and it's only a £5 for non-members. Running on from there, as Ken just mentioned, on the 3rd of June, we're going to have a Zoom call, 11 a.m. called "Are you ready for PAS 2035?" So I'm going to come on and say no and then clear off, because a lot of people are not. They may think they are, but there are a number of things that we don't want you to be caught out, because as of the 1st of July, if you want to be involved with any of this stuff, you're going to have to be. So I would suggest a lot of people that are on this call probably are. However, a lot of people that are not on this call won't be. Someone asked about funding. Now, I've spent all week trying to find MVQ2 100% funding. It's all gone. I can't find it anywhere now. If anybody knows where I can find it, please ring me, because I have people desperate for it. However, I can find countless amounts of 70%. I've got companies ringing me every day now, offering me 70% funding, which is the one that was available through Mike Gallagher's skills training. Now that doesn't just cover installs, that covers things like retrofit coordinator. So if you're interested in 70% funding, there are different pathways for different measures and all sorts. So I can talk to you about that and put you in touch with the right people if that helps you. 70% funding is better than nothing. So, you know, we need to take advantage of that while you've got the time. Running on from that, it's a slightly different off the LAD scheme, but of course, one of the key things with LAD and everything for me is about getting our industry back on its feet. and I would encourage people to support this, and let's hope this does run a lot quicker, because it needs to, than the Green Homes Grant Scheme. My massive disappointment is the Green Homes Grant Scheme was starting to work, and then they pulled the plug, which is very frustrating. Let's give this a chance to work, and I'm hoping that, you know, we can engage the smaller companies. Anybody that wants to get involved with this scheme in this area, and it's a big area, yeah, we've got the DPS, as Maxine said. I know the 4 managing agents. If you want to get in touch with the managing agents to have a talk with and get some help or whatever, then you email me, and I will sort it out for you. You know, it's very important that we try and get this going. I'm getting quite excited. There's 5 energy hubs, all got the same situation. I want to start a league table. It'll be great fun to see who can produce and deliver the stuff. What would be really useful for me, I think, would be, you said there were 17 sort of main areas, if you like. What would be really useful, because I know there's 141 different local authority, blah, 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 but for me, it's the 17 areas. It would be quite useful to know what managing agents have got what areas. And what councils those areas cover, because no disrespect, I've worked with a lot of installers and they won't touch some energy agents with a barge pole because of past situations with eco and things like that. However, on the flip side, there are some that would be so desperate to work with those because they have treated them correctly that it's very important to know who works with what region. That for me is vital. The other thing is, if the money doesn't get spent in a certain region quick enough, can it be shifted over to the others?
Yes, it can. So it's part of our requirement to go to its local authority. If an area is underperforming, it can go to an area that's overperforming.
Right.
There is a process in that, of course, but yes,
but that's really good news, because, you know, some that drag their feet, that think, you know, we're going to get a 3-month extension, and others that actually get on with it and get their supply chain that they trust moving, deserve the rewards of getting the extra funding. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, I can show you a list of consortias and the local authorities that sit under them. I'll just need to check what's published before we're contracted in terms of managing agents aligned with specific consortias.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, you know, obviously the association is more than happy to help in any way it possibly can to make this a success, as we try to do with everything that comes out. To aid this, Andre, you came on the call last Thursday and said that you'd had somebody from the Kickstart scheme. I had a call from somebody else basically saying that the person we delivered to them, all their departments are fighting over them. I would encourage you, if you want youngsters to help grow your business, all you've got to do is put a bit of time into them. We will find them for you. Now, it does take 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah, you know, I have people, oh, if I want them quick, can I have them? No, you can't. Or you can give me 12 grand, I'll go and find you a proper one. Simple, really. 25 hours a week, they get everything paid. You even get money to train them. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. All you've got to do is get these youngsters and help them. When I was on the call last week, I said we had about 230. We've got about 280 now that we're looking for. But we are now placing people quite regularly. And I'm quite proud to actually say that, you know, we've actually now got some youngsters into work, into our industry, that we can upskill and we can help stop the shortage that we have so badly. So if you want to have a look at how you can have people, the only thing you have to pay is 120 quid to join the gateway. You know, that's how transparent we are. You know, they call me Mr. See-Through. It's that straightforward. I'm not going to go on about the awards. I'll let you all know about that later, but we're kicking off on June the 25th for Yorkshire, and they're back. I've really enjoyed this. It's been quite informative for me, because obviously I've never been involved with the lad scheme before. I hope you guys have got a bit more information about it. There are some challenges on product that need to be met, on things like, you know, we've had a number of questions on spray foam and things like that. I'm a great believer in never say never, and you know, it's a case of proving that it's okay and that we haven't got a problem. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to come and listen on to the call. If you found it useful, let us know, you know, because we need to move on and work and find out how we develop it. If there are other Zoom calls you want us to arrange, because I'm sure we're going to have to do one on hugs when that rears its head, and other schemes, and we'll try and keep informed as much as we can. It's been quite a long one, this one, hour and a half, but that's pretty normal. I believe we will be putting a video up on our YouTube channel. Is that right, Ken?
Yes, we will be putting up this video. It might be in a very unedited form, but we can put something up.
All right. Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so if anybody wants to get hold of me, give me a buzz, drop me an email for any of the things I've mentioned. But again, thank you so much for coming on the call. I'm sure we can move things forward. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Sorry, Maxine, did you want to say something there?
Just say thank you, Gary, and really appreciate the opportunity to, you know, to meet some of your members, and hopefully we'll be working together in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. There's one question that's just come in. I was looking for clarity on the managing agents also being allowed to be installers. Is there a conflict of interest there, or is there a restriction on what they can and can't do?
So there is a conflict of interest, but there is a process. So where a managing agent also wishes to bid for installation works, they won't be running the procurements on the DPS. Mace will be undertaking that as framework manager on their behalf. So it will be a role that's taken away from managing agent and is provided to Mace. So there's an independent process.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Matthew, as well. And we look forward to...
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Look forward to talking to you in due course as this thing starts taking off.
Top of the league table. That's all I'm going to say.
There's no other way, is there? No other option.
Cheers, Gary. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.